Marasa ya voy para la
mara basibathoma.
It is going to start. declare draft resolution adopted.
人民对美好生活的向往，就是我们的奋斗目标。经过长期努力，中国特色社会主义进入了新时代。
2021年是中国共产党胸怀千秋伟业，恰是百年风华。我们秉持以人民为中心，永葆初心，牢记使命，乘风破浪，扬帆远航，一定能实现中华民族伟大复兴。
Draft resolution adopted.
人民对美好生活的向往，就是我们的奋斗目标。经过长期努力，中国特色社会主义进入了新时代。
2021年是中国共产党100年华诞，胸怀千秋伟业，恰是100年风华。我们秉持以人民为中心，永葆初心，牢记使命，乘风破浪，扬帆远航，一定能实现中华民族伟大复兴。
Comrades, friends, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Communist Party of China. Thank you for joining us to celebrate this grand occasion. My name is Lulu. It is my great honor to be the program director today. Today, we are honored to have with us honorable comrades and friends from parliament and parties, the government, ambassadors and high commissioners from diplomatic corps, business communities, women and youth, think tanks, and the media. Forgive me to all protocol observed. Let me extend a warm welcome to all of you. This morning, a grand gathering to celebrate the centenary of the founding of the CPC was held in Beijing. Xi Jinping, General Secretary of the CPC Central Committee, President of the People's Republic of China, and Chairman of the Central Military Commission, delivered an important speech and declared that China has realized the first centenary goal of building a monetarily prosperous society in all respects. The speech not only aroused warm response among the vast number of CPC members and the general public in China, but also received extensive focus and high attention from the international community. Let's watch a clip of the speech.
And now here comes the air flag guards.
A formation of helicopters is escorting the party's flag, and following the party's flag are four large slogans. They read, "Long live the great Communist Party of China. Long live the great Chinese people. Long live the great People's Republic of China, and long live the great unity of all ethnic groups of China." That's the helicopters formation flying over Chang'an Avenue and Tiananmen Square.
That's right. Well, a total of 71 helicopters and fighter jets are now flying over the sky in the Chinese capital to pay tribute to the party, the nation, and the Chinese people.
And this is the first formation made by helicopters escorting the party flag.
Yeah. This is the formation, forming the numbers 7 and 1 to signify July 1st. That's the birthday of the Communist Party of China. It was founded in 1921.
The J-20 is China's fourth generation of supersonic stealth fighters. This is their first large-scale showcase over Tiananmen Square. This is China's most advanced fighter jet model. Now, 10 planes are creating spectacular air rainbows over the Chang'an Avenue and Tiananmen Square. Also spectacular.
Spectacular.
Now, I would like to announce that the celebration of the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Communist Party of China now begins. Please all rise. Fire the gun salutes.
"56 cannons representing China's 56 ethnic groups are being fired 100 times. Now 222 soldiers are walking from the monument to the people's heroes to the flagpole.
升国旗，
raise the national
唱国
flag,
歌。
sing the national anthem. Through 100 years of history, the Communist Party of China is in the prime life.
各民主党派
A joint congratulatory message from the Democratic Party, Federations of Industry and Commerce, and the personage without party affiliation.
全国人大常委会
Now I would like to invite Vice Chairman of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, Chairman of the Revolutionary Committee of the Chinese Kuomintang, Comrade Ban Exiang, to deliver the message.
尊敬的
Distinguished
中国共产党
CPC
中央委员
Central
会，
Committee,
尊敬的习近平总
Distinguished
书记，
General Secretary Xi
百
Jinping,
年下次风华正茂，
it has been a century
百年初
of
心，
splendid
历
history
久弥坚，
and remarkable
支
achievement
持中国共产党
as CPC celebrates its 100th
各民
anniversary.
主党派
The Democratic Parties,
和无党派人
Association
士
of Industry and Commerce,
倾向
and
中国
public
革命
figures without party
建设
affiliations
改
hereby
革事业的
pay
坚
our
强领导
highest
核心，
tribute and sincere congratulations to the CPC, the strong leadership of the Chinese Revolution, construction and reform.
请中共中
Now
央
please allow me to invite
国家主席
General Secretary of the Communist Party of China Central Committee, Chinese President, Chairman of the Central Military Commission, Comrade Xi Jinping, to deliver important speech.
同志们，
Comrades and friends,
今天
today,
在中国共产党历史上，
the 1st of July,
在中华民族历
is
史
a
上，
great and solemn day in the
都是一
history
个
of both
十
the
分
Communist
重大
Party
的
of
庄严
China
的日子。
and the Chinese nation.
我们在这里隆重集
We
会，
gather here
同全党、
to
全
join
国各
all
族
party
人民
members and the Chinese people of all ethnic groups around the country
成立100
in
周年，
celebrating the centenary of the
回
party.
顾中国共产党100年奋斗
Looking
光
back
辉历
on the
程，
glorious journey the party has traveled over
中华
100
民
years
族
of
伟大
struggle,
复兴的
and
光明
looking
前
ahead
景。
to the bright prospects of the rejuvenation of the Chinese
首
nation.
先，在这里，
On this special
我
occasion,
代表党和人民
it is my honor
庄严宣告，
to declare on behalf of the
经
party
过
and the
全党
people
全国各
that
族人民
through the continuous efforts of the whole party and entire
我
nation,
们实现了第一个
we have
100年
realized
奋斗
the
目标，
first centenary goal of
在中华大地上
building
全面
a
建成了
moderately
小康社会，
prosperous society
历史性
in
的解决
all
了绝对
respects.
贫困问题，
This means that we have brought about a historical
向着
resolution
全面建
to the
成社
problem
会
of
主义
absolute
现代化
poverty in
强
China,
国
and we
的
are now
第
marching
二
in
个
confident
100年
strides
奋斗目
toward
标
the
迈进。
second centenary goal of building China into a great modern socialist country in all respects.
为了实现中华民族伟大复兴，
To realize national
中国
rejuvenation,
共产党团结带领中
the
国人
party
民
united and led the Chinese
浴血
people
奋战，
in fighting
百
bloody
折不挠，
battles with unyielding
创造了新
determination,
民主主义革命的
achieving
伟大成
great
果。
success in the new democratic
我
revolution.
们为了实现中华民族伟大复
To
兴，
realize national rejuvenation,
中国共产党团结带领
the
中国
party
人民
united and led the Chinese
自力更
people
生，
in endeavoring to build a stronger China with
创
a
造
spirit
了社会主义革
of
命和建设
self-reliance,
伟大成果。
achieving great success in socialist revolution
我
and
们进行
construction.
社会主义，为了实现 中华民族伟大复兴，
to realize national rejuvenation.
中国共产党团结带领中国人民，
The party united and led the Chinese people in freeing the mind and forging
改
ahead,
革开放和
achieving
社会
great
现代
success
化建
in
设的伟大
reform,
成就。
opening up, and socialist modernization.
为了实现中华民族伟大复兴，
To realize national
中
rejuvenation,
国共产党团结带领中国人民
the party has united and led the Chinese people in pursuing a great struggle, great project,
红蓝伟大斗争，
a great
伟
cause,
大工程，
and a great
伟大
dream
事业，
through a
伟大
spirit
梦想，
of self-confidence,
创造了新
self-reliance,
时代中国特色
and
社会主义的伟
innovation,
大成就。
achieving great success for socialism with Chinese characteristics, the source of inspiration for taking greater initiative.
和中国人民以英勇顽强的
Through
奋斗，
tenacious struggle,
向世
the
界
party
庄
and
严
the
宣
Chinese
告：
people have shown the world
中华民族迎来了
that the Chinese
站
nation
起来
has achieved a tremendous
到
transformation
强起来的
from
伟
standing
大
up
飞跃，
and growing prosperous to
中华民
becoming
族
strong,
伟大复兴
and that China's
进入了
national
不可
rejuvenation
逆
has
转的
become a
历史进程。
historical inevitability, pursuing a better future on a new journey that lies
开创
before
未来
us.
必须坚持中国共产党坚强领导，
We must uphold the firm leadership of the party,
办好中国的事情，
China's success
关键
hinges
在党。
on the party.
中华民族近代以来180多年的历史，
The more than 180
中国
year-long
共产党成立以来
modern history of the Chinese nation,
100年的历史，
the 100-year-long history of the party,
中华人民共和国成立以来70多年的历史，
and the more than 70-year-long history of the People's
没
Republic
有
of
中国共
China
产党，
all provide ample evidence that without the Communist
就
Party
没有
of
中
China,
华民族
there
伟
will
大
be
复
no
兴。
new China and no national
历史
rejuvenation.
和人民选择了中国
The
共产
party
党
was chosen by history and the people.
中国共产党领导是中国特色社会主义
The leadership
最
of
本
the
质的
party
特征，
is the defining feature of
是中
socialism
国特色
with
社会主义
Chinese
制度的最
characteristics
大优势，
and constitutes the greatest
是党和
strength
国家的根本
of the
所在，
system. It is the foundation and lifeblood of
是
the
全国
party
各族
and
人
the
民的利益
country
所系。
and the crux upon which the interests and well-being of all Chinese people depend.
以史为鉴，开创未来。
As we put conscious effort into learning from history to create the bright
中国
future,
人民
we must bear the following
不
in
但为
mind.
美好生活而
We
奋斗，
must unite the lead the Chinese people in working ceaselessly for a better life.
人
This
民
country
就是
is
江
its
山，
people and people
打
are the
江山
country.
守江
As
山
we。have fought to establish to consolidate our leadership over the country, we have in fact been fighting to earn and keep the people's support.
任何想把中国共产党同中国人民分割
Any
开来
attempt to
对立
divide
起
the
来的
party
企图，
from the Chinese people or to set people against the party is bound to fail.
9500多万中国共产党人
The
不但
more than 95
14亿多
million
中国
party
人民
members
也
and
不
the
答
more
应
than 1.4 billion Chinese people will never allow such a scenario to come to pass.
以史为鉴，开创未来，必须继续
We
推进
must continue
马克思主
to
义
adapt
中国化。
Marxism to the Chinese context.
中国共产党为什么能？中国
At
特
the
色社会
fundamental
主义
level, The capability of our party and the strengths of socialism with Chinese characteristics are attributable to the fact that Marxism works.
以史为鉴，开创未来，必须坚持和发
We
展
must uphold and develop socialism with Chinese characteristics.
推动
As we have upheld and developed socialism with Chinese characteristics and driven coordinated progress in material, political, cultural, ethical, social, and ecological terms,
创造中国式
we have
现代
pioneered
化新道路，
a new and uniquely Chinese
人
path
类文明
to
新
modernization
形态。
and created a new model for human advancement.
以史为鉴，开创未来，必须加快国防
We must accelerate the modernization of national defense and the armed forces.
强国必须强
A
军，
strong country must have a strong military,
才能国安。
as only then can it guarantee the security
坚
of
持
the
大
nation.
事，以史为鉴，开创未来，必须不断推动
We
构
must
建人类
continue
命运共同体
working to promote the building of a human community
和平和
with
睦
a shared
和谐
future.
是中新的征程上，
On the journey ahead,
我们必须高
we
度
will remain
和平
committed
发展
to
合作，
promoting peace, development, cooperation, and mutual benefit,
奉行独立自
to
主
an independent foreign policy of peace,
坚持走和
and to
平
the
发展
path
道路，
of peaceful development.
推动建设新
We
型的
will
国际
work
关
to
系，
build a new type of international
推
relations
动构建人类命运
and
共
a
同体，
human community with a shared
推动
future.
共建“一带一路”高质量发展，
Promote high quality development of the Belt and Road Initiative through joint efforts and use China's new achievements in development to provide the world with new opportunities.
中国人民
We Chinese
是崇尚正义、不
are
畏强暴
the
的人，
people who uphold justice and are not intimidated by
是具
threats
有
of
强烈
force.
民族自豪
As a
感
nation, we have a strong sense of pride and confidence.
中国人民从来没有
We
欺负、
have never bullied,
压迫、
oppressed,
奴役过其他国
or
家人民。
subjugated the people of any other country.
过去没有，现在没有，将来也
And
不会
we
有。
never will.
同时，中国人
By
民
the same
也
token,
绝不允
we will
许
never
任何外
allow
来势
any
力
foreign
欺
force
负、
to bully,
压迫、
oppress,
奴役我
or
们。
subjugate
谁妄想这样干，
anyone
必将在
who
14
would
多
attempt to
亿
do
中国
so
人
will
民
find themselves
血肉
on a collision
铸
course
成的钢铁
with a
长城
great
面
wall
前
of，steel forged by over 1.4 billion Chinese people.
以史为鉴，开创未来，必须进行具有
We
许多
must
新的历
carry
史特
out
点的伟大
a
斗
great
争，
struggle with many
敢
contemporary
于斗争
features.
敢于胜利。
Having the courage to fight and the fortitude to win is what has made our party invincible.
实现伟大梦想，
Realizing our great dream
顽强拼搏
will，require hard
不
work
懈奋斗，
and persistence.
以史为鉴，开创未来，必须加强
We
中
must
华儿女
strengthen
大团结。
the great unity of the Chinese people.
以史为鉴，开创未来，必须不断
We
推进
must
大的
continue
建
to
设
advance the
新
great
的
new
伟大工
project
程，
of party building.
勇于自我革命，是中国共产党区别于其他
A
政党
hallmark
的
that
显著标志。
distinguishes the Communist Party of China from other political
我
parties
们党
is
历
its
经
courage in
千锤百
undertaking
炼
self-reform.
而朝气蓬
An
勃，
important reason why the party remains so vital and vibrant despite having undergone so many trials and tribulations is that it practices effective
不断
self-supervision.
应对。同志们、朋友们，
Comrades and friends,
我们要全面准确贯彻一
we
国
will
两
stay
制
true to the letter and the spirit of the principle of one country, two systems, under which people of Hong Kong administered Hong Kong and the people of Macau administered Macau,
对香港
both with a high degree of autonomy.
全
We will
面
ensure that the central government exercise overall jurisdiction over Hong Kong and
落实
Macau,
特别行政区维护
and
国家安
implement
全的法律制
the
度，
legal system and enforcement mechanisms for the two special administrative regions to safeguard national security,
维护
while
特别行政
protecting
区社
China's
会大局稳
sovereignty,
定，
security, and development interests. We will ensure social stability in Hong Kong and Macau and maintain lasting prosperity and stability in the two special administrative
解决
regions,
台湾问题，
resolving the
实
Taiwan
现
question
祖国完全统
and
一，
realizing China's complete
是中
reunification
国共产党矢志不渝
is
的
a
历史任务
historic mission and unshakable commitment of the Communist Party of China. It is also a shared aspiration of all the sons and daughters of the Chinese nation.
任何人
No one
都不要低估
should
中国人民
underestimate
捍
the
卫国家
resolve,
主权
the will,
和
and
领土完
ability
整
of the
的
Chinese people
坚强
to
决
defend
心
their national sovereignty
坚定意
and
志
territorial
强大能力。
integrity.
同志们、朋友们，
Comrades and friends,
中国共产党立志于中华民族
Today,
千秋伟业，
100 years on
百
from
年
its
恰是
founding,
风
the
华正
Communist
茂。
Party of China is still in its prime
回首过去，
and remains as
展
determined
望未来，
as ever to achieve
有
lasting
中国共
greatness
产
for
党
the
的
Chinese
坚
nation.
强领导，
Looking back on the past, we have traveled and
有
forward
全
to
国
the
各族
journey
人
that
民
lies
的
ahead.
紧密团
It is
结，
certain that with the firm leadership of the party and the great unity of the Chinese people of all ethnic groups, we will achieve the goal of building a great modern socialist country in all respects and fulfill the Chinese dream
一定能
of
够实现
national。rejuvenation. Long live our great, glorious, and correct party. Long live our great, glorious, and heroic people.
请全体肃立，
Please all rise
奏国旗歌。
to the Internationale.
And now here comes the air.
The speech comprehensively summarizes the glorious cause, great contribution, and historical enlightenment of the CPC in uniting and leading the Chinese people in their identity struggle. After watching the clip, let's look forward to the insights of our distinguished guests. First of all, I will give the floor to His Excellency Chen Xiaodong, Chinese ambassador to South Africa, to deliver his keynote speech. Let's welcome.
Your Excellency, former President, Halima Motlandi, distinguished comrade Jersey Doherty, Deputy Secretary General of the African National Congress, distinguished comrade Blake Nzimandi, General Secretary of the South Africa Communist Party and the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, distinguished comrade Zingizwa Lucy, President of the Congress of South African Trade Unions, distinguished comrade Batabile Dlamini, President of the ANC Women's League, distinguished comrade Lindiwe Zulu, Chairperson of the ANC International Relations Subcommittee and Minister of Social Development, distinguished comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, distinguished comrade Lindiwe Sisulu, Minister of Human Settlement, Water and Sanitation, distinguished comrade Nkosazana Emmanuel Mutatewa, Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, distinguished comrade Made Nkoala Mashabale, Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities in the presence, distinguished comrade Candice Mashiko Dlamini, Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, distinguished comrade Alvin Boutros, Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Your Excellency Bailey Mopoko, Ambassador of the Democratic Republic of Congo to South Africa and the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, High Commissioners, and fellow members of Diplomatic Corps, comrades, ladies and gentlemen, friends, good afternoon. This morning, a grand gathering celebrating the centenary of the Communist Party of China was just held in Beijing. And General Secretary Xi Jinping delivered an important speech at the gathering. The Chinese embassy in South Africa is holding today's reception right after that gathering back home to celebrate this historic moment together with friends from all communities in South Africa. I sincerely thank all of our distinguished guests today for your active participation. We have just together reviewed important points made by General Secretary Xi Jinping from the video clips. I would like to take this opportunity to further share perspectives on his important remarks so that all of us get to have a deeper understanding about China and the CPC. General Secretary Xi Jinping revealed in his remarks a remarkable journey that the CPC has marched on in the past 100 years, leading the Chinese people towards stellar achievement through hard work. He reviewed how the party led efforts towards great success in the new democratic revolution, socialist revolution, and construction reform, opening up and socialist modernization, as well as for socialism with Chinese characteristics in the new era. On the occasion of this special and historical moment, General Secretary Xi Jinping solemnly declared that through the continuous efforts of the whole party and the entire nation, China has realized the first centenary goals of building a moderately prosperous society in all respects. He declared that China has brought about a historic resolution on the problem of absolute poverty, and the nation is now marching with confidence towards the second centenary goal of building a strong modern socialist country in all respects. Looking back on the CPC's 100 years history, we can see why we were successful in the past and how we can continue to succeed in the future. Moving forward, General Secretary Xi Jinping shared the CPC's experience and the proposals on 9 fronts about how the party can usher in a brighter future, building on past glories. I would like to share a summary of the experience and proposals with the 5 musts. First, we must uphold firm leadership of the party. General Secretary Xi Jinping stressed on many occasions that China's success hinged on the CPC. Whether it's the over 180 plus years of China's modern history, the 100 years of the CPC history, or the 70 plus years of PIC's history, they all prove that without the CPC, there will be no new China and no national rejuvenation. The CPC was chosen by history and the Chinese people. Marxism is a fundamental guiding ideology for our party and the country. It's the very soul and banner of our party. The CPC leadership is both the defining feature of the socialism with Chinese characteristics and the greatest strength of the system. It's the foundation and the lifeblood of the party and the country, crucial for the interests and well-being of all Chinese people. On the journey ahead, we must uphold the party's overall leadership, continue to enhance the leadership, and closely rally around the CPC's Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core. We must practice scientific, democratic, and law-based governance, and give full play to the party's role as the core of the leadership in providing overall leadership and coordinating the efforts of all involved. Second, we must work hard to deliver a better life for the people. The country is its people, and the people are the country. As the CPC had worked to establish and consolidate leadership over the country, we have in fact been fighting to earn and keep the people's support. This is General Secretary Xi Jinping's philosophy on what the CPC's relationship with the Chinese people is all about. To serve the people wholeheartedly is a fundamental reason and the goal of anything the CPC does, and this is what makes the CPC different from other political parties. The CPC has its role, lifeblood, and source of strength in the people. It has always represented the fundamental interest of all Chinese people. It stands with them through thick and thin and shared a common fate with them. The party has no special interest of its own. It has never represented any individual interest group, power group, or privileged groups. Any attempt to divide the party from the Chinese people or to say the people against the party is bound to fail. The more than 95 million party members and the more than 1.4 billion Chinese people will never allow this to happen. On the journey ahead, we will continue to practice a people-centered philosophy of development. We will develop who process people's democracy, preserve social fairness and justice, and resolve the imbalance and inadequacies in development and the most pressing difficulties of concern to the people. Third, we must firmly uphold and develop socialism with Chinese characteristics. General Secretary Xi Jinping has concluded China's contemporary history by saying that socialism with Chinese characteristics is a fundamental achievement made by the CPC and the people, having endured great struggles and at great cost. It is the right way to go for the rejuvenating the Chinese nation. As China has upheld and developed socialism with Chinese characteristics and driven coordinated progress in material, political, cultural, ethnic, social, and ecological field, we have pioneered new and uniquely Chinese paths to modernization and created a new model for human advancement. On the new journey ahead, the CPC and the Chinese people will continue to actively act on Xi Jinping's thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era. We are eager to learn what lessons we can from the achievement of other cultures. We welcome helpful suggestions and constructive criticism. However, we will never accept lectures from those self-appointed preachers. The party and the Chinese people will keep moving confidently forward along the path that we have chosen for ourselves. We will make sure that the future of China's development and progress remains firmly in our own hands. Fourth, we must continue working on promoting the building of a human community with a shared future. Peace, concord, and harmony are ideas of Chinese nation has pursued for more than 5,000 years. The Chinese nation does not carry aggressive or hegemonic traits in its genes. China has always worked to safeguard world peace, contributing to global development, and preserve international order. On the journey ahead, we will be guided by Xi Jinping's thought on diplomacy, remain committed to promoting peace, development, cooperation, mutual benefit, and an independent foreign policy of peace, and to the path of peaceful development. We will work to build a new type of international relations and a community with a shared future for mankind, promote high-quality development of Belt and Road Initiative through joint efforts. We will use China's new achievement in development to provide the world with new opportunities. The CPC will continue to work with all peace-loving countries and peoples to promote the shared human values of peace, development, fairness, justice, democracy, and freedom. We will continue to champion cooperation over confrontation, to open up rather than closing our doors, to focus on mutual benefits instead of zero-sum games, and to oppose hegemony and power politics. We Chinese are people who uphold justice and are not intimidated by threat of force. As a nation, we have a strong sense of pride and confidence. We have never bullied, oppressed, or subjugated the people in other countries, and we never will. In the same veins, we will never allow any foreign forces to bully, oppress, and subjugate us. Anyone who would attempt to do so will find themselves on the collision course with a great wall of steel forged by over 1.4 billion Chinese people. Fifth, we must continue to advance great new project party building. General Secretary Xi Jinping pointed out that the important reason why the party remains so vibrant despite having undergoing so many difficulties is that we practice effective self-supervision as well as full and strict self-governance. It has thus been able to ensure that it always remains at the forefront of the time despite profound changes in the world, and to stand firm as the backbone of the nation when meeting various risks and challenges at home and abroad. On the journey ahead, we must continue to adapt the basic tenets of Marxism to China's specific reality and its fine traditional culture. We will continue to develop the Marxism of temporary China and in the 21st century, and constantly move forward the new great practice of Xi Jinping's thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era. We must continue to demonstrate stronger vigilance and always be prepared for potential danger, be both brave and adept in carrying out our struggle, and courageous enough to emerge from all risks and challenges victorious. We must keep firmly in mind the old saying that it takes good blacksmith to make good steel and maintain strict self-governance. We must strengthen the party's organization system and work hard to train high-caliber officials who have both moral integrity and professional competence. We must ensure that the party preserves its sense, color, and character, and see that it always serves as a strong leadership core in the cause of upholding and developing socialism with Chinese characteristics in the new era. Comrades, friends, looking into the future, China enjoys CPC's strong leadership. The guidance of Xi Jinping's thought on socialism and Chinese characteristics, as well as the hard work of all Chinese people in solidarity, is therefore inevitable. The Chinese nation will step forward towards its great rejuvenation. The CPC will stay true to the letter and spirit of the principle of one country, two systems, under which the people of Hong Kong administrate Hong Kong and the people of Macau administrate Macau, both with a high degree of autonomy. While protecting China's sovereignty, security, and the development interest, we will ensure social stability in Hong Kong and Macau, and maintain lasting prosperity and stability in the two special administrative regions. Resolving the Taiwan question and realizing China's complete reunification is a historic mission and an unshakable commitment of the CPC. It's also a shared aspiration of all the sons and daughters of Chinese nation. The CPC has always placed the United Front in a position of importance and work to ensure great unity and solidarity. We will uphold one China principle and the 1992 consensus, worked for the resolution of the Taiwan question and advance full and peaceful national reunification. All of the Chinese people in the world, compatriots on both sides of the Taiwan Strait, must come together and move forward in unison. We must take resolute action to actually defeat any attempt towards Taiwan independence and work together to create a bright future for national rejuvenation. No one should underestimate the resolve, the will, and ability of the Chinese people to defend their national sovereignty and territorial integrity. Comrades and friends, the CPC is a political party that works for the happiness of the Chinese people and struggles for the cause of human progress. In the past 100 years, CPC has contributed its share to world peace, injected momentum into global development, offered alternatives in development paths, built platforms for mutual learning among civilizations, and overall made great contributions to that have stood out in history. China is the largest developing country in the world. Africa is the continent with the biggest number of developing countries. Similarities in the history and common missions have bound China and Africa countries together. The CPC, the ANC, and the SSEP, and other political parties, as well as the people of South Africa and other countries, have always been of one heart and one mind, and have forged a deep friendship with each other. The CPC firmly supports the anti-imperialist, anti-colonial, and anti-hegemonic struggles in Africa and the struggle of the South African people against apartheid. The CPC has always promoted win-win cooperation and common development and has provided all-round support for Africa's economic and social growth. Since the 18th CPC National Congress, General Secretary Xi Jinping has attached great importance to relations with Africa. He proposed that relations with Africa must be developed under the principle of honoring sincerity, real result, ability, and good faith, and that of pursuing the great good and shared interest among countries. President Xi Jinping devoted himself to developing relations with Africa. In 2013, he chose Africa as part of his first trip abroad after taking office. So far, he has visited Africa 4 times, covering the eastern, western, northern, southern, and central part of the African continent, including 3 states visits to South Africa. In 2015 and 2018, our 2 presidents co-chaired 2 historical FOCAC summits held in Johannesburg and Beijing, respectively. The 10 cooperation plans and 8 major initiatives of China-Africa relations have helped Africa achieve long-term stability and sustainable development. Since COVID-19 started, General Secretary Xi Jinping has all along cared about Africa and South Africa. President Xi Jinping and President Ramaphosa jointly initiated the China-Africa Extraordinary Summit on Solidarity Against COVID-19. He also spoke many times with various African leaders. China has actively provided emergency COVID-19 response supplies and sent medical teams to Africa. We also ranked the first among G20 members in terms of the deferral amount of days suspension and the relief arrangement. As South Africa is now entering the 3rd wave of COVID-19 infection, the government has taken strong measures to curb the virus. On China's part, we are willing to continue to donate COVID-19 response, supplies, to the South Africa side. We are ready to share response experience and carry out vaccine cooperation so that our two sides can defeat the virus together at an early date. Comrades and friends, what's past is a prologue. As a party that is focused on the eternal great cause of the Chinese nation, the CPC is in its prime, reaching its first century. China has now entered a new stage of development. We are working to deliver a new vision of development, build a new development paradigm, and match toward the second centenary goal to build a strong, democratic, harmonious, and beautiful modern socialist country by 2049, 100 years after the founding of New China. China's development in the coming new era will create still broader new space for all countries in the world to share our opportunities. We welcome all countries, including Africa, to get on board the bullet train of China development. The Chinese dream and the Africa dream are now closely intertwined. China and Africa are building closer China-Africa community in the shared future. The CPC is ready to work with ACE, SSCP, and other African political partners to renew the glory of century-old parties. We are ready to deepen the exchange of experience in governance so that all countries could explore development paths in line with one's own national conditions. Those efforts will inject new momentum into the development of our party-to-party, country-to-country relations and open a new chapter in China-Africa relations. Long live for the great, glorious, and the correct CPC. Long live the great, glorious, and the heroic Chinese people. Long live the great China-South Africa, China-Africa friendship. I look forward to hearing all of our distinguished guests' excellent remarks. I thank you all.
Thank you, Ambassador. As Ambassador Chen has said, the CPC is not only the mainstay of the great resignation of the Chinese nation, but also committed to advancing the cause of human progress and contributing to world peace and development. Next, let's welcome His Excellency Kgalama Motlanthe, former President of South Africa, to deliver his speech. Welcome.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much, Program Director, His Excellency Ambassador Chen Xiaodong, Honorable Comrade Jesse Duarte, Deputy Secretary General of the African National Congress, Honorable Comrade Blade Nzimande, General Secretary of the South African Communist Party, Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, Honorable Comrade Zingi Swalosi, President of the Congress of South African Trade Unions, Honorable Comrade Bathabile Dlamini, President of the African National Congress Women's League, Honorable Comrade Lindiwe Zulu, Chairperson of the African National Congress International Relations Subcommittee and Minister of Social Development, Honorable Ms. Lindiwe Sisulu, Minister of Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation, Honorable Minister Nkosinathi Emmanuel Mtetwa, Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture, Honorable Ms. Kendith Mashihu Dlamini, Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, His Excellency Ambassador Bene Mpoko, Ambassador of the Democratic Republic of the Congo to South Africa and Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners here present, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends, celebrating the centennial anniversary of the founding of the Communist Party of China offers South Africa and the world an opportunity to not only salute the Chinese people for their great achievement in actualizing the goals of the revolution guided by revolutionary theory, but also a chance to reflect on the journey of the CPC from inception to reaching the ripe age of 100 years. Accomplishing a moderately prosperous society in all respects is a landmark in China's revolution and development from which lessons and inspiration can be drawn. This exciting chapter in human history is not a final destination, but a milestone in China's long journey to what His Excellency President Xi Jinping, in his keynote address this morning, attributes to realizing the first centenary goal and I quote, now marching in confidence, strides towards the second centenary goal of building China into a great modern socialist country in all respects, close quote. These achievements and positive outlook signify a renewed internationalism for posterity and is indeed a bold stride in the struggle of the people of China for social justice. The 100 years of the CPC is an anniversary that duly celebrates the nation's and the party's confidence in its political system to journey beyond and manifest a noble and people-centered vision. His Excellency President Xi Jinping reiterated that the CPC's founding spirit is its source of strength, developed by the pioneers of communism in China, and consisting of the following principles: upholding truth and ideals, staying true to the original aspiration and founding mission, fighting bravely without fear of sacrifice, and remaining loyal to the party and faithful to the people. Within this reflection lies a fundamental approach to the success of the CPC, building the party and structuring its perspective such that it manifests constant motion, evolving, adapting, and emerging from one era to the next as a stronger and more relevant organization. His Excellency highlighted the CPC's ability to adapt Marxism to the Chinese context and observed that China will, and I quote, use Marxism to observe, understand, and steer the trends of our times and continue to develop the Marxism of contemporary China and in the 21st century. We must uphold and develop socialism with Chinese characteristics. We must follow our own path. This is the bedrock that underpins all the theories and practices of our party. More than that, it is the historical conclusion our party has drawn from the struggles over the past century, close quote. Program Director, from His Excellency President Xi Jinping's germane measurements of theory and practice, we are firmly reminded that society is not static, it is forever marching forward, and this march of society is propelled and greatly influenced by the continuous modernization of the forces of production. As witnesses to China's advances into the future, we take our cue from virtuous leaders of the past who were armed with the correct tools of analysis to envision a future free of homelessness, disease, ignorance, poverty, homelessness, as well as hunger. Through the darkest days of apartheid and the complex forging of the African National Congress over time, the struggle for freedom was articulated by the wise mindset of Comrade Govan Mbeki, who in his time echoed the sentiments and approach of the CPC to focus on the importance of an organization's framework and structure and its nature as an ever-changing living organism. At this point, allow me to refer to the teachings of Comrade Govan Mbeki in Robben Island Prison, where he explained the importance of creating structures which are agile and flexible enough to adapt to new conditions. And I quote, "We must examine briefly the importance of the structure of the organization in seeking to attain its ends. Depending on conditions, the ANC structure has had to change and will continue to do so if it is to survive under changing conditions. It is very important that the membership appreciate this point. Otherwise, insistence on getting it to do things as they were done before under a completely different set of conditions, or to do things for which it is not designed, may create difficulties that may not only retard progress, but may also expose it to otherwise preventable enemy attacks," close quote. We understand that the importance of the structure and the adaptation aspects of the CPC in theory and practice has proved that this method is the only way to continue equaling the challenges of the moment and resolving them in a manner that lays down a solid foundation for future progress. Taking into account the concrete conditions of every nation and understanding that no two countries are exactly the same, it is important to apply the lessons of history to the theory of development in an adaptive manner that takes the unique characteristics of each country into account. President Xi Jinping stated that, and I quote, "By learning from history, we can understand why powers rise and fall. Through the mirror of history, we can find where we currently stand and gain full sights into the future. Looking back on the party's 100-year history, we can see why we were successful in the past and how we can continue to succeed in the future," close quote. Program Director Education is a great equalizer. However, we need to consider the correct kinds of education in the interest of collective growth and how human history shapes the power dynamics of knowledge. Apartheid and colonial knowledge systems held a power that in many respects is still present today. The success of apartheid is still apparent in the legacy it has left behind in the sharing of knowledge in contemporary South Africa. In other words, who has access to education and who does not? In an article published in 1942 entitled "Defects in Party Education," Moses Kotane, the then General Secretary of the Communist Party of South Africa, motivates an approach to an inclusive education system and guides our understanding of the historical context of the power and politics of knowledge in South Africa. And I quote, "Proper education is a him and learns to understand it. The right kind of education enables men to see what the world has been, what it is, and how it can be changed to suit him or his way of living. Education can be and has been used to befuddle the minds of common people, but education can also be used as an important instrument in the struggle for freedom and human progress. It is this kind of education which we need. We must learn history to know and understand the story of man's development through the ages, the various forms of his social organization, and the causes of the rise and fall of those forms of human relationships. We should know that at some time in the course of their history, peoples of other countries also suffered political, economic, and social injustices, just as we do in South Africa. We should also know what they did in order to free themselves, their setbacks, and the secret of their eventful successes," close quote. In His Excellency's address, President Xi Jinping recollected that China, in its more than 5,000 years of existence, has pursued the ideas of peace, concord, and harmony, and must continue working to promote the building of a human community with a shared future, and must continue to advance the great new project of party building. The Communist Party of China is an exemplar of how revolutionary theory can be used to solve society's problems. Once again, Program Director, allow me to convey the Party of China and the people of China on this auspicious occasion of the centennial anniversary, and we recognize the monumental achievements of the People's Republic of China under the leadership of the CPC. And we wish all strength and wisdom to the leadership of the CPC and all strength to the elbows of the Chinese people. And I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your warm remarks. As you once said, China has offered other countries a new path to modernization. We are ready to continue to exchange experience in governance and development with other developing countries. Next, I'll give the floor to Comrade Duarte, Deputy Secretary General of the ANC. Let's welcome.
Good afternoon, His Excellency Ambassador Chen Jiadong, Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe, Comrade Blade Nzimande, Comrade Zingiswa Losi, Comrade Batabila Dlamini, Comrade Lindiwe Zulu, Comrade Nathi Mthethwa, Comrade Lindy Sisulu, Comrade Ambassador Poko, Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. It is not by chance that there are so many of us here today to celebrate in this great historical event of the Chinese Communist Party. It is testament to the deep and profound relationship that the ANC and its allies have built with the Communist Party of China and with the people of China. On behalf of the African National Congress, I wish to convey warm and heartfelt congratulations to the Communist Party of China, the collective of leadership of the CPC under the guidance of General Secretary Comrade Xi Jinping, and the People's Republic of China. As we mark 100 years since the founding of the CPC. We join millions around the world in celebrating your glorious century-long journey, and we draw inspiration from your successes and wish you well in leading the next century of China's peaceful and prosperous development. We too are in a process of renewing the African National Congress, modernizing it to meet new conditions that we need to encounter. We welcome the depth of the relationship we have with you through BRICS and the various efforts we have made together to train ANC cadre. Over the past century, the CPC has led China's rise from the depths of colonial invasion to the second largest economy in the world. During this period, the CPC has remained loyal and exemplary in executing its mission of seeking happiness and well-being for the Chinese people and the rejuvenation for the Chinese nation. In this era of widespread social and economic insecurity and widening disparities between and within nations, under the CPC's leadership, China has been exemplary in nurturing a system of meritocratic governance across the political stratum, the success of which can be seen in the country's record levels of industrialization, job creation, peaceful coexistence, and the lifting of millions of people out of poverty. We hope as you embark on your next century, you will take us along and share your experience and expertise with us. Under the CPC's strict adherence to a people-centered development approach, China has achieved and exceeded the poverty reduction targets set out in the United Nations Agenda 2030, a decade ahead of time. Remarkably, China has recorded this achievement while adhering to a national poverty benchmark that is higher than that applied by the World Bank. In his book entitled, Has China Won?, Singaporean scholar Dr. Kishore Mahbubani says that under the leadership of the Chinese Communist Party, the bottom 50% of China's population have had their best 30 years in 3,000 years. We congratulate the CPC and the people of China on this remarkable achievement. In his recent address, the Chinese ambassador to South Africa, Comrade Chen Jiadong, reminded us that the CPC's history is a history of striving for independence and prosperity for the nation, as well as liberation and happiness for the people. Looking back at the past century, it is indeed difficult to imagine China's peaceful rise and development outside of the stewardship of the now century-old CPC. As humankind battles an uncertain future due to growing insecurity and an unprecedented pandemic, there can be no sustainable future if that future is not shared. Never in the history of mankind has our collective health and well-being, regardless of class, race, or gender, ever been so directly connected. In the words of Nai Bevan, illness is neither an indulgence for which people have to pay, nor an offense for which they should be penalized, but a misfortune, the cost of which should be shared by the community. It is time for collective action for the collective good of all citizens of the between our two organizations. And on behalf of the African National Congress, I wish the CPC and the People's Republic of China, as well as the second century of working for the cause of human progress, well-being. Long, glorious CPC, long live the courageous people of China. Amandla.
Amandla, thank you, Comrade Duarte. The CPC's people-centered philosophy is consistent with the ENC's people-first policy, which emphasizes that the people are the masters of the country.
The two sides have been learning from each other and supporting each other in our national development endeavors. This year also marks the 100th anniversary of the founding of the South African Communist Party. Next, let's welcome Comrade Blade Nzimande, General Secretary of SACP and Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, to make his presentation.
Greetings to Ambassador Chen Jiadong, Comrade Jesu Duarte and the leadership of the ANC, Comrade Lechisa Tsenodi, a member of the Central Committee of the South African Communist Party, as well as the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, and members of the Central Committee, Comrade Zingi Zwalosi and members of the CEC of COSATU, former President Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe, Cabinet and Deputy Ministers, members of the Diplomatic Corps, comrades all. On behalf of the SACP's Central Committee and our entire membership, allow me to express our congratulatory message to the people and the Communist Party of China on the 100th anniversary of the founding of the CPC. This year, this month, 2021, July, also marks the centenary of the founding of our South African Communist Party. Our two parties were founded during the same month, 7 days apart in 1921. The CPC was founded on 23rd July, while the SACP was founded on the 30th of July as the Communist Party of South Africa. This is therefore a very important moment for both our parties, a shared founding centenary. The CPC, with great discipline and the support of the Chinese people, achieved victory against colonialism and imperialism in China and established its leadership of the Chinese people. It was this historic victory that paved the way for the CPC, 28 years after its founding, playing a leading role in founding the People's Republic of China in 1949. This laid a firm foundation for the impressive achievements realized by the Chinese people under the leadership of the CPC. China moved from what the CPC characterized in the past as a backward society to the second largest national economy in the world, with abject poverty eliminated. The basis of these achievements are underlined by what Comrade Xi Jinping said in his anniversary message earlier today about the role of the CPC in the rejuvenation of China. And I quote, "Since the very day of its founding, the Communist Party of China has made seeking happiness for the Chinese people and rejuvenation of the Chinese nation its aspiration and mission. All the struggles, sacrifices, and creations through which the party has united and led the Chinese people over the past 100 years has been tied together by one ultimate theme, the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation," unquote. Developing the forces of production and industrialization played a key role in the transformation realized by China. It is this change that saw China emerge as a key trading partner of many countries in all global regions, including the African continent. And unlike much of the formerly colonized world, the content of China's international trade comprises finished products, something in the past that was only associated with the triad of economies of the United States, Western Europe, and Japan. China's technological capabilities, including own product and production process innovation, research, development, are impressive, something many countries in the former colonized world aspire to achieve. In contrast, in many former colonized countries, foreign-based institutions and accumulation interests have established a firm grip on policy direction. There are imperialist economic policy documents that are unveiled as the policies of such developing countries. However, analyzed deep down to the root, those are a policy regime transmitted through the imperialist mechanisms of international loan conditionalities and foreign monopoly finance and other accumulation interests. The defense of China's national independence by the CPC and its existence of China's policy sovereignty should serve as a great inspiration. Here in South Africa, the SACP built an alliance starting in the late 1920s with the African National Congress, the trade union movement, and forged a national liberation movement involving an array of other democratic as well as sectoral formations. It was through this national liberation movement with the alliance in the forefront, and in addition with international solidarity, that we succeeded to close the chapter of the colonial era and the apartheid regime in 1994. The Soviet Union, which was dissolved 3 years before our victory over the apartheid regime, played a key part through material support to our struggle as part of the international solidarity that we received. China itself had earlier played an important role in supporting the liberation struggle in our country. Our victory over the apartheid regime was a milestone of great importance. It was following this victory that we adopted the modern-day human rights-based South African Constitution. When we dislodged the apartheid regime, the balance of forces which were tilted in favor of our liberation struggle was internationally dominated by the triumph of neoliberal class and state forces. It was in this context that we had to carry forward our strategy of the National Democratic Revolution and implement broader social transformation. Now, life in South Africa is better than under apartheid and the entire colonial era. Our people have realized massive social advances, starting with human rights, including socio-economic rights such as access to education, healthcare, housing, water, and so on. However, we still have a lot of work to do to achieve universal coverage in many areas of broader social transformation. In addition, our post-1994 achievements are facing a great threat of erosion due, amongst others, to the persisting economic crisis showed by high levels of unemployment, poverty, inequality, and stagnation. The global COVID-19 pandemic has worsened the situation. Our key challenge is to overcome the COVID-19 pandemic and resolve the economic crisis, which has caused a social reproduction crisis showed by many households struggling to support life. No country can achieve everything on its own. Partnership is important, just like solidarity during the liberation struggle. We're therefore looking forward to deepening our party-to-party relations with the CPC and inter alia scientific cooperation with China in our struggle to overcome the COVID-19 pandemic and resolve underdevelopment. South Africa still remains a minerals-rich country. However, if these minerals are merely extracted and exported as raw materials, it will remain very difficult for South Africa to reduce or face or deal with its triple crisis. It is therefore a key national imperative for South Africa to build domestic industrial capacity to transform the minerals into processed industrial inputs and finished goods. Given China's industrial achievements, we need to forge a developmental partnership to lift South Africa and other countries in the Southern African region and Africa at large out of the persisting colonial type mineral extractive relationship with its key trading partners. Finally, China has developed a COVID-19 vaccine. It is important to forge cooperation for South Africa to access the Sinovac COVID-19 vaccine on a developmental and solidarity basis and add it to its vaccine rollout program. The efficacy of the vaccine to the COVID-19 variants that are dominant in South Africa and its safety are essential. We also recall the words of President Xi Jinping when he pledged that if it succeeded to develop a COVID-19 vaccine, China will make it a global public good. Allow me to end with an announcement that on Sunday, the 4th of July, starting at 11 a.m., the SACP will hold its opening rally and official launch of its centenary year. With these words, we wish the People's Republic of China all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General Secretary. I would like to take this opportunity again to extend my warmest congratulations and best wishes to the SACP. Next, I would like to give the floor to Comrade Zingis Balosi, President of the COSATU. Let's welcome.
Thank you very much, Program Director, His Excellency Ambassador Chen Jiadong, His Excellency Kgalema Motlanthe, our former President of the Republic of South Africa, Honorable Comrade Jessie Duarte, the DSG of the ANC, Honorable Comrade Blade Nzimande, the General Secretary of the South African Communist Party, our Honorable Comrade Bathabile Dlamini, the President of the ANC Women's League, Honorable Comrade Lindiwe Zulu, the Chairperson of the ANC International Relations Subcommittee, Honorable Comrade Nkosinathi Mthethwa, the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Honorable Comrade Kenneth Mashego Dlamini, our Deputy Minister of DERCO, His Excellency Ambassador Bene Mpoko, Ambassador of the DRC to South Africa. COSATU congratulates the Communist Party of China as it marks its 100th anniversary on the 1st of July 2021 today. COSATU acknowledges the determination of the CPC leaders led by the President Xi Jinping since its foundation under the visionary leadership of Mao Zedong and the socialist economic reforms of the current leadership. A century later, the vision of its founding leaders underpinned by socialism have delivered impressive results as evidenced by the East Asian Giants economic development and poverty alleviation programs. China's achievements are an excellent example of what can be accomplished when a party is in step with the times and pursues high ideals in service to humanity. Under the visionary guidance of the CPC, China, whose philosophy is people-centered, has achieved unprecedented success in poverty alleviation in human history. The CPC's people-centered philosophy has led to the upliftment of over 700 million people out of poverty since inception, and economic reforms put the people of China at the forefront of its quest for economic development. The accomplishment put China on achieving the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Goals 10 years ahead of time. COSATU commends and the importance of the gender-based approach used by China in its anti-poverty drive and quest for economic development. China's success is owed to a great extent to the CCP's women-focused philosophy. Women played a crucial role in China's resurgence and still played a crucial role in China's continued economic development. Under the leadership of Mao Zedong, many women cadres were sent to work in agricultural communes, and one of the objectives of the CPC was to dismantle the feudal system's constraints on women's rights to landholding. Mao realized all labor, whether male or female, as valuable to the economy. The people-centered and gender-based approach, or women's inclusive approach to development, is one of the many lessons African countries may learn from China, as it is proven to be an effective approach to sustainable economic development. China is an important player in the urbanization of Africa, as the continent's development initiatives are driven by Chinese companies and backed by Chinese funding. Africa's largest inflow of foreign direct investment comes from China. contribution of China to the economic development of Africa economies is being accelerated by Chinese economic foreign policy known as the Belt and Road Initiative. This economic flagship, which has received its share of criticism and frowned upon as a neo-colonial policy, could present opportunities for Africa economies as a conduit for ideological, economic, and cultural exchange, rather than a one-sided economic affair that sees the movement of African minerals to China and sold back to Africa as processed goods. In his keynote speech of the 100th anniversary of the founding Communist Party of China, General Secretary Xi Jinping said, and I quote, "Our party's founding mission is easy to define. Ensuring that we stay true to this mission is a more difficult task. By learning from history, we can understand why powers rise and fall. Through the mirror of history, we can find where we currently stand and gain full sights into the future," close quote. There is a vacuum for African leaders propelled by the political will to learn from the Chinese experience and embark on an anti-poverty drive underpinned by socialist economic reforms relevant to African economic realities. COSATU acknowledges and commends China on its solidarity with Africa on multilateral fora. The United Security Council, under the China Initiative, held an open debate on peace and security in Africa, addressing root cause of conflict in post-pandemic recovery in Africa. This initiative calls upon the international community to intensify its support for Africa in the post-COVID-19 reconstruction, poverty alleviation, trade and investment, food security, and industrialization. In a more recent occurrence, COSATU also commends China for reaffirming its invitation to representatives from Palestine and Israel to come to China for direct negotiations. We are aware that China has made an all-out effort to push for a unanimous action on the Israel-Palestine tensions within the Security Council. But due to obstruction from the United States, the Council has not reached an agreement so far. China has also indicated willingness to provide humanitarian and other types of assistance to the Palestinian side as much as it is able. COSATU commend this crucial act of solidarity with the people of Palestine and encourage more interventions from all peace-loving people of the world. As a federation, we wish the Communist Party of China new and greater victories. Its successes in achieving its great goals and in building socialism with Chinese characteristics are signposts that point the way forward for humanity. Thank you very much, Chair. Amandla.
Thank you, President. COSATU had joined with the ANC and the SACP to fight against apartheid. At that time, the journey of the Chinese People's Revolution led by the CPC influenced and inspired many South Africans. Next, let's welcome Comrade David Zulu, Chairperson of the ANC International Relations Committee and Minister of Social Development.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Ambassador of the Republic of China to the Republic of South Africa, Ambassador Chen Jiadong, His Excellency, former President of the Republic of South Africa, Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe, Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Jesse Duarte, General Secretary of the South African Communist Party and Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, Comrade Blade Nzimande, President of the Congress of South African Trade Union, Comrade Zingi Swalosi, President of the African National Congress Women's League, Comrade Bathabile Dlamini, Honorable Minister of Human Settlement, Water and Sanitation, Comrade Lindiwe Sisulu, Honorable Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Comrade Nathi Mthethwa, Honorable Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Comrade Candid Mashiko Dlamini, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps and Ambassador of the Democratic Republic of Congo to South Africa, Ambassador Ben Mbogo, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else who is on the platform today. A very good South African afternoon to you all. On behalf of the ANC-led delegation that is here today, we are grateful for to participate in the centennial celebration of the founding of the Communist Party of China, CPS. This is truly historic, both for the Chinese society as well as for South-South cooperation, and in particular for our government. As I was reflecting on the keynote address of General Secretary Xi Jinping in this regard, I noted that the CPS and by extension, the government of the People's Republic of China is confident of having realized, and I quote, a moderately prosperous society in all aspects of life, and in particular, resolving absolute poverty in China, close quotes. From a social development vantage point, these brief comments by General Secretary Xi Jinping reinforces our view that indeed government can meaningfully target its economic policy towards realizing its social policy objectives, and that is of an inclusive economic landscape, continuously improving population-wide social outcomes, and transforming the life prospects, well-being, and contribution of each and every citizen. Pursuant of our bilateral relations, as well as the objects of the multilateral platforms such as BRICS and BRICS political parties that bring us together, we support the strengthening of people-to-people exchanges between our citizens. This will encourage the organic co-creation of everyday solutions within our communities and further endanger popular exchanges and adaptation where our people encounter developmental challenges towards greater people-centered innovations, social development, as well as the need to attend to the felt needs of our people during and beyond these times of COVID-19. Our governments must take this centennial celebration as a once in a century opportunity to intentionally promote beneficial exchanges between our citizens and thereby building capacity at community level. At an institutional level, mechanisms such as the district-centered development model are targeted at assuming an emphatically developmental outlook, agile and responsive posture when it comes to guiding our people's role in definition, implementation, and realization of their aspired development. We trust that this 100th celebration of the year since China Communist Party of China was founded, and from village commitments to street committees, and from the National Executive Committee to the Central Committee, we will multiply the channels through which the institutions in our respective communities promote cooperation between our parties as well as our governments. Indispensable to the development of the South African we collectively want, the advancement of our developmental national interests, values, and prosperity, and the Africa we want is the sustainability of our people's development within their social settings. As mentioned earlier, this is not dissimilar from what General Secretary Xi Jinping referred to during his remarks at the centennial celebration. We stand behind the creation of a targeted and outcomes-informed partnership between our national development institution. And in this regard, from a social development point of view, we speak about the National Development Agency, which is a case in point. And recently we met with the embassy, the ambassador, and other diplomats to look at the relationship between the National Development Agency, as of course encompassed by the overall bilateral relations that exist between the two governments. And indeed, 100 years of the Communist Party of China leading the Chinese society into an area of social, cultural, and economic prosperity will remain the extraordinary cause for celebration. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Both Chinese and African people have the right to a better life. Just as President Xi Jinping said, no one can stop the Chinese and African people from revitalizing. Next, let's welcome Comrade Batabile Dlamini, President of the ANC Women's League.
Director of the program, Ambassador Zhen Tiandong, former President and Secretary General, former President of the Republic of South Africa and Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe, the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Jesse, Honorable Comrade Blade Nzimande, General Secretary of the South African Communist Party and Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation. Comrade Zingiswa Losi, President of the Congress of South African Trade Union. Comrade Lindiwe Zulu, the Chairperson of the Committee of the ANC in International Relations. Comrade Lindiwe Sisulu, Minister of Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation. Minister Comrade Nkosinathi Emmanuel Mthethwa, Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture. Honorable Minister Kenneth Mashego Dlamini, the Deputy Minister of International Relations, and Ambassador Boko of the Democratic Republic of Congo to South Africa, and the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps. Your Excellency, the Ambassador, today the ANC Women's League join the multitudes of the people of the world, and more particularly the people of China, for celebrating the 100 years of the Communist Party. Would like to congratulate the people of China for hard work, commitment, and selflessness that has been demonstrated over a period of 100 years. The Chinese Communist Party is one of the strongest communist parties that have been able to deal with the demons of imperialism and has been able to correct the challenges of the past with earnest and dedication. In your history, we've seen your leadership coming up with interventions that cut across, that are consistent, and that go in consummate with policies and that focus on restructuring your country towards a reconstruction and a reform. It is through the struggles that were waged by your founding fathers that the Communist Party of the People's Republic of China today is celebrating 100 years. And you continue to inspire us through your gradual social development and your commitment to the people of China. Would also like to congratulate you for being able to be at the helm of a government for so many years. Your determination and commitment to your beliefs has made you a powerhouse. Countries that your country has been modernizing throughout during different periods of industrialization. And you have defined a democracy in the way that fits the multitudes of the people of China, not in the way that other people define democracy. And this is done for the benefit of the people of China. What has made you outstanding is the creation of relations with other countries, but also you put at the forefront the interests of the people of China. And many countries have to learn from this. You also refused to be balkanized into many states, and you have a one China policy that you have strategically defended, and that you have used to fight poverty whilst you are the governing party. We have all been looking at your way of conceptualizing of your path through different epochs. Chinese Socialist Party has its characteristics, and that also makes you choose what you want between many and among many countries. You also continue to work with organs of people's power. You never demobilized them, and you continue working with progressive forces that were very key in the fight against imperialism. Your growth has given a clear direction to your citizens. To some, this might look logical, but for those that are analytic, it is hard work that is interpreted for each and every citizen of the country. You work from concepts to contextualization, institutional frameworks, consolidation, cooperation. And consolidation has opened itself to coexistence and mutual supervision, and you do your work with sincerity. Your commitment to a strong leadership core has assisted you to lead continuously and marshal your forces with such a huge population. You have also taken your people as a human resource through ensuring proper training and development. Your prioritization of political participation, expression of interest of different people, social integration, democratic supervision, and maintenance of stability has worked for you. The ANC Women's League has a long-standing relationship with the All China Women's Federation. In that, in the launch of the ANC Women's League in 1954, immediately after the ANC took a decision to form the leagues, Comrade Dumanogwe used the example of the All China Women's Federation to motivate cadres that attended that conference. We've also been looking at women in China developing in rural as well as urban areas. And wherever you go in China, you see a development that is related to each province. Ours as the ANC Women's League is to cement the relationship that we have with the All China Women's Federation, and we have to cement that so as to ensure that there is mutual growth of our people as well as learn from the people of China. We would also like to work together with the newly elected leadership under the leadership of Madam Gu, so as to ensure that our programs of education continue and the support for the projects that are here in South Africa continue. The CPC has been exemplary to socialist and progressive forces and a true symbol of people-centric political rule. As the Women's League, we wish to congratulate the CPC and applaud them for 100 years of not only existing for the people in China, but for stretching their hand to us as the ANC Women's League, thus contributing immensely to the development of our continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President. As Chairman Mao once said, women hold up half of the sky. And China, as a developing country, is well aware of Africa's needs and stands ready to support African countries in their economic development so as to achieve common prosperity. Next, let's welcome Honorable Comrade Lindiwe Sisulu, Minister of Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation.
Hello. Dearest Ambassador Chen Jiadong, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes?
Hi, Minister.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. I'm under the Table Mountain here, and therefore my reception is very poor. Thank you very much. Dearest Ambassador Chen Jiadong, Ambassador of China, the former president of South Africa, Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe, the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, Comrade Blade Nzimande, who passes as a chair of the Communist Party in South Africa, Ms. Zingiswa Losi, president of COSATU, Ms. Jessie Duarte, the acting secretary general of the African National Congress, Ms. Lindy Zulu, chair of the International Committee of the African National Congress, Nkosinathi Mthethwa, minister responsible for all of all our multilateral relations on issues that are very important to us, and everybody else who is here present with us. I feel very honored to be granted the opportunity to add a few words on the occasion of the 100th celebration of the Communist Party of China, CPC. We know that revolutions are not made, but are occasioned by the circumstances that the oppressed people find themselves in. History has shown that these revolutions mostly succeed when organized and led by committed and disciplined political leadership, organized through political parties that serve as the nucleus of political activity and the vanguard of the working class and the masses of the people. These parties constitute the force of the left, and these are the internationalist movements that are driven by an anti-imperialist agenda. We are meeting today to celebrate with you, but also to say thank you for all the support you've given us as we struggled, as we tried to find our way, as we tried to steer in the organization in the right direction. Today we celebrate with you not only your achievement, but the achievement that you have rubbed off on us. We're celebrating 100 years of the existence of the Communist Party of China. We are celebrating decades of hard work. We're celebrating decades of support from yourselves. And we're celebrating also the fact that we would like to see China propel itself forward amongst the top world powers. Both the Communist Party of China and the African Congress have had similar experience of fighting liberation struggles against colonial forces. And it is these experiences that have strengthened bilateral relations between the two countries. As South Africa, we continue to be inspired by the groundbreaking stewardship of the Communist Party of China in propelling the country to high echelons of world's leading countries. Today, China has mutated from a classical Marxist socialism to a fast-growing economic system that has challenged capitalism in its own home soil. Within a decade, China has emerged as the second highest economy in the world, just a few steps from overtaking the United States of America. China holds a large share of American debt. In other words, America owes China a total of $1.1 trillion in debt. In Africa, China has the largest bilateral creditor holding 21% of African debt. To us, China is a clear epitome of how things have changed in world politics. It is a clear example of how the nations that have been despised and written off as failing socialist experiments are now at the driving seat of the world politics. The Chinese dragon is not only spitting fire, its fingers, legs, and tails are crawling the whole globe. And we are very proud of that. Whether you talk of manufactured goods, technology, development, funding, stock markets, or blockbuster karate and kung fu movies, whatever it is that interests the youth, and even in medicine. No sentence is complete without reference to China. Yes, everything is becoming Chinese, whether we like it or not. The question we should be asking ourselves is, how did China achieve this feat when we started off together in the struggle? How did they overtake us so very quickly? And how are we ever going to make up? What kind of strategy do you have that make you to be such a dominant force? We are envious. We would like to be there with you as well. We would like to be reckoned with. We come a long way. 100 years of struggle is a long way for us. What is it that you have in your mental that made Donald Trump go completely mad and tipped over and lost the American presidency while trying to wrestle with your rocketing rise to the top? Program Director, I intend to be short. My colleagues have covered a lot of what needs to be said about our relations. However, we all know that China is succeeding because of the policies adopted and implemented by the government. We also know that the CPC is the light behind these policies. What we can learn from the Chinese experience is that it takes a dedicated and disciplined political leadership that is guided by a well thought out plan to have a fully functional government that is results driven. We envy you for that. You need a political leadership that is firmly deals with internal challenges, a leadership that is principle driven, that is biased towards addressing the needs of the poor and the disadvantaged, and a leadership that does not tolerate anything that deviates from that which is revolutionary. We have learned a great deal from the Chinese. We are, however, suffering our own challenges, which, if not properly handled, could reverse much of what has been achieved through many years of sacrifice and strife. We have for some years been struggling to reboot our sluggish economy. We have not been able to fully arrest some of the poverty, especially in the rural areas. When I visited China, on the last occasion when I visited China, I was amazed that I couldn't tell the difference between some of the areas that would be otherwise called rural areas and the urban areas. Ours are marked. We have the rural areas, we have the urban areas, and we have the previously white areas, arched in our history, and we're unable to overcome that. Unemployment and inequality is still something that we battle with. We have also for some time been wrestling with a number of other matters that have no place right now. The ANC has declared the year 2021 as a year of Charlotte Maxeke, as has been indicated to you by the chair of the president of the Women's League. Charlotte Maxeke is a heroine of a struggle who played an important role in waging women's struggles against apartheid, and one of the leaders who championed the struggles against the past laws. Focusing on her legacy helps us to shine the light on the struggles faced by women today. Although much work has been done, especially by the Women's League, we, however, have not yet succeeded in achieving gender equality in our country. We have not succeeded in uprooting patriarchy, which largely informs men's negative attitudes towards women. Of greater concern is the rising cases of gender-based violence and femicide against women. But we're determined that we will make it. We're determined that we will make it because we believe we have the right policies. All we need to do is make sure we stick to those right policies and carry them through. Most crucial, we need more collaboration between our two countries, fighting a number of areas that you are able to assist us with. South Africa is currently going through a third wave of corona. We need your support. Today, as I speak, we're suffering a number of other adverse problems. Our infrastructure is ailing. The divide between the haves and the have-nots is growing. The people in the rural areas are still struggling. And we've tried everything we can out and make sure we can economy to everybody. China has been able to implement has effective measures in containing all of these things that we're talking about. We are hoping, Ambassador, that you will be there for us to show us and help us how it is possible to do this in the shortest possible time. We have been in power for a very long time. We need to see changes in our country. We commend the Communist Party for providing the required political direction to the government of the people of the Republic of China for the far-reaching impact it continues to make across the globe. We as the ANC and the South African government have much to learn from the successes that you continue to make in the global stage. We feel greatly honored to be associated with you, honored to be a major beneficiary of much of your support and investment.
There's some technical problem with Minister Sisulu's connection. So we move on to the next speaker, and I think Minister Sisulu will come back with us shortly today. Well, next, let's welcome Honorable Comrade Nkosi Nathi Mthethwa, Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, to make his presentation. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Program Director, Ambassador Xiaodong, Ambassador of China to South Africa, a former President of the Republic, President Motlanthe, the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Jesse Duarte, the General Secretary of the South African Communist Party, Comrade Blade Nzimande, COSATU President, Comrade Zingiswa Losi, the President of the Women's League, Comrade Bathabile Dlamini, Member of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, the Chairperson of the ANC International Relations Subcommittee and the Minister of Social Development, Comrade Lindiwe Zulu, Minister of Human Settlement and Water Affairs and member of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, Comrade Lindiwe Sisulu, Comrade Maite Nkwana Mashabane, member of the National Executive Committee of the ANC and the Minister in the Presidency, responsible for youth, women and people with disability, the Deputy Minister of International Relations and member of the NEC of the ANC, Comrade Kenneth Mashego Dlamini, Ambassador of the Democratic Republic of Congo to South Africa, and the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, His Excellency B. Mpoko, comrades and friends, revolutionary greetings. We have converged in these platforms not because of our own choosing, but imposed on us by the outbreak of the deadly coronavirus. The centenary of the Communist Party of China coincide with the centenary year of the formation of the South African Communist Party. Comrade Blade Nzimande has covered this point very well. This historic milestone by the Communist Party of China is celebrated under the theme, "Never forget why you started." A telling theme indeed. These celebrations take place in extraordinary times. As humanity, we face unprecedented challenges of COVID-19. The impact of this pandemic is still unfolding. To this point, however, what is certain is that more than 3 million people globally have lost their lives due to this pandemic. No part of the globe has been spared. Every nation has been negatively affected, and the poor everywhere have been affected more than those who are rich, whilst developing nations are bearing the brunt of suffering more than others, as it was during the Spanish flu of 1918. These celebrations take place in a year that South Africa has dedicated to one of our icon, Ma Charlotte Maxeke. This patriot had lived, and if she had lived, she would have been celebrating 150 years. Her titanic contributions to not only just the future of South Africa, but of humanity as a whole, is still seen as an indelible mark and felt like that to this day. It is indeed a special honor to participate in an occasion that relives reflects, remembers, and recreates the contributions of the Communist Party of China. Over the past century, perhaps the Communist Party's greatest strength has been its ability to adapt and change. From the long march that propelled Mao Zedong's rise to Deng Xiaoping's economic reforms that has made China to be the economic powerhouse it is today. This has continued greatly in the uplifting of the standard of living of the Chinese people. This is consistent with the articulation by President Xi Jinping addressing the party congress when he said, and I quote, "The aspirations of the people to live a better life must always be the focus of our efforts," close quote. The party has publicly laid down ever more ambitious goals that would have seemed distant just years ago, such as being self-reliant on high technology and fighting income inequality. The African National Congress and the Communist Party of China have grown closer to each other over years. China was amongst the first countries to provide military training to the first cohorts of Umkhonto we-Sizwe, the military wing of the ANC. Amongst those who were the first beneficiaries of this training are Baba Andrew Mlangeni, the late Baba Raymond Mhlaba. Because of this close and special relationship that we have, several of African National Congress leaders have undergone political education training in China in the recent past. From the political education committee side, as the chairperson, we have been in touch with China, and we continue having this edge to formalize our political education program, as the ANC has been largely influenced by the experience gained through the exchange political programs which we have had with the Communist Party of China over a period of time. As the African National Congress, we dip our revolutionary banner in memory of the communists who have fallen since the formation of these two sister organizations. And I want to say that the contribution of China, even to the state level, is commended. And we recommit and rededicate ourselves to ensure that we continue with our strategic relations and partnerships with China, especially on the BRICS area, because BRICS has to be strengthened all the time. It came about as both political and economic countermeasure of the global status quo. I also want to recommit ourselves, and in so doing, I know I have the full backing of my counterpart, Vice Premier, Her Excellency Sun Chunlan, to strengthen the people-to-people exchange mechanism. That's a very important milestone between the two peoples. And the exchange mechanism is mainly about exchanges and cooperation in the areas, amongst others, of culture, of international relations, of education, technology, science and technology, sport, tourism, women affairs, youth affairs, et al. This is an important area, and we should always, and I'm glad that His Excellency, the Ambassador, has been on board to ensure that we indeed strengthen the relations of the two peoples. I want to conclude my contribution by quoting a scholar who goes by the name of Peter Mattis, who is a senior fellow at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, who makes a telling point when he says, and I know he does this, even having his critical points with China. But he also was forced to say the following: the Communist Party of China made it through a century of turbulence. And it comes out on the other side more powerful than ever. So the centennial celebrations are an opportunity to draw continuity across the party and across Chinese civilization. Close quote. And thank you for your cooperation and attention.
Thank you, Minister. China-Africa friendship was born in the difficult years of national liberation and is deeply rooted in the hearts of the two peoples. President Xi Jinping has pointed out that China and Africa are friends in need, and a friend in need should never be forgotten. So we can see that Minister Sisulu is back with us. Minister Sisulu, we are ready to hear your wrap-up.
Thank you very much. Ambassador, I could not miss this opportunity of showing off, if you would allow me. My father was the Secretary General of the African National Congress, and he traveled together with Duma Nokwe to China to meet with Mao Zedong. And after he had tried many, many times to have a baby girl, it only happened when he came back from China. So I celebrate myself together with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Next, let's welcome Honorable Comrade Candice Mashego Dlamini, Deputy Minister of DIRCO, to make her presentation. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Your Excellency Ambassador Chen Jiadong of the People's Republic of China, Comrade Jessie Duarte, Deputy Secretary General of the African National Congress, Comrade Blade Nzimande, Secretary of the Communist Party, Comrade Zingiswa Losi, President of COSATU, Comrade Bathabile Dlamini, President of the African National Congress Women's League, Her Excellency Kgalema Motlanthe, our former President of the Republic of South Africa, ministers and deputy ministers present here, Ambassador Ben Mpoko, our Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, ambassadors and high commissioners, consular general and heads of the United Nations organizations accredited to South Africa, academics and members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, first and foremost, allow me to congratulate you and the People's Republic of China on this tremendous occasion as you celebrate the founding of the Chinese Communist Party, which was established in Shanghai on the 23rd July 1921. As we celebrate with you this special occasion of the CPC centenary, we also pay homage to the founding father of the Chinese Communist Revolution and founder of the CPC, Mao Zedong, who was not only responsible for countless political initiatives that transformed China and its future engagement with the world, but who also led the fight against class distinction, promoted land reform, marketization and economic reform, as well as having fought against all forms of oppression and foreign revisionism. In its centenary year, the CPC can certainly be proud of its achievement, considering that the Chinese leadership has lifted the great Chinese nation out of poverty and en route towards realizing its
full economic potential. Indeed, today's celebration should herald a deep reflection of China's history to allow the world to understand why Chinese people choose a social path towards economic and market reform and opening up to the world. Your Excellency, the year 2021 is a tremendous auspicious occasion for China as the country not only celebrates the anniversary of the founding of the CPC, but also very importantly, as China marks its 2 centenary goals, primarily achieving the Chinese dream, as well as promoting the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation, vision which bears significant relevance to the social and economic trajectory of China. Your country's socio-economic transformation and its achievement is remarkable, and hence it is important to pay tribute to this achievement, hand in hand with the 100 years anniversary of the CPC and the People's Republic of China. I would like to quote from the speech of His Excellency President Xi Jinping, who has so adequately reflected the following, I quote, "We have realized the first centennial goal, namely building a modernly prosperous society in all aspects. This means that we have brought about a historical resolution to the problem of absolute poverty in China, and we are now marching in confidence towards the second centenary goal of building China into a great modern socialist country in all respects," close quote. This indeed a great achievement for the CPC. Your Excellency, the CPC has demonstrated that China is well on its way towards achieving the country's economic miracle, as is evidenced by Chinese high-quality economic growth, its fast-paced socio-economic as well as technological advancement. With that being said, Your Excellency, the year 2020 presented challenges imposed by the pandemic, yet China continued to improve its economic structure by transforming the countries from an investment and manufacturing-driven economy to a consumption and service-fueled new economy, therefore allowing for sustainable economic growth. Through initiatives such as the Third China Initiative Expo, held in Shanghai in 2020, your country has further promoted greater market access, which not only contributes to poverty alleviation in China, but which also serve to further integrate China into global economy. We must also stimulate knowledge China's countless achievements in the field of science and technology, environment, education, and health. I am confident that with the Chinese leadership, people's-centered approach, more can be expected of China in the future, as you will continue to promote economic growth, development, prosperity for your people. Your Excellency, having spoken on China's economic success, I now return towards an important aspect of the brotherly and warm bond of friendship that exists between our 2 nations, that of the strategic partnership between South Africa and China. As you know, this strategic partnership is underpinned by the same objectives that our 2 nations share, namely that of promoting economic growth, development, and prosperity, not only for our people, but for our respective region as well as the world. The common thread which reinforces the bonds of friendship and cooperation between our 2 countries is our conviction that economic growth and development is dependent upon investing in the social well-being of our people, as well as investing in our human capacity and economic fiber as a means towards poverty alleviation, employment creation, and overall towards ensuring our sustainable growth and development that for our region. Your Excellency, South African strategic partnership with China is all-encompassing and includes our common aspirations as far as South-South cooperation and promoting a rule-based international order are concerned. In terms of our bilateral relations, this partnership holds a great potential for us to strengthen our relations in terms of trade and investment, as well as cooperation in the field of higher education, agriculture, energy and mining, the ocean economy and tourism. But we should also continue to seek new avenues of cooperation, particularly in terms of science and technology, the renewable energy industry, the digital economy, innovation and research, and now more importantly, in terms of the health and pharmaceutical sectors, which have become all the more pivotal in the time of the pandemic. Your Excellency, I think it is also crucial to mention that under the leadership of the CPC, China has indeed become an important contributor to the region as well as the world, economically, financially, and culturally. China's contribution to the global community and towards multilateralism stems from the remarkable progress that the Chinese government has made domestically in terms of its internal reform processes, its engagement with the outside world, and its integration into the global economy. China has an invaluable role to play in the international system through its position taken at a multilateral platform, and equally, China has an invaluable role to play in promoting sustainable growth and development through its development projects like the Belt and Road Initiative. Your Excellency, allow me to express my gratitude to you again for inviting me to speak on this auspicious occasion. I firmly believe that Sino-Africa solidarity will continue to strengthen and that our brotherly bond will continue to be reinforced. I thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. As you mentioned, since China and South Africa established diplomatic relations more than 20 years ago, relations between the two sides have sustained a sound momentum of growth. The connotations of the China-South Africa Comprehensive Strategic Partnership exceed the bilateral scope and have acquired growing global influence. Next, I will give the floor to His Excellency Mpoko, Ambassador of the Democratic Republic of Congo to South Africa and Dean of the Diplomatic Corps.
Thank you, Program Director. Dear colleague, Ambassador Chen Jiadong, the Ambassador of the People's Republic of China to South Africa, Your Excellency Kgalema Motlanthe, former President of the Republic of South Africa, Honorable Jessie Duarte, Deputy Secretary General of the African National Congress, Honorable Blaise Nzimande, General Secretary of the South African Communist Party and the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, Honorable Zingiswa Losi, President of COSATU, Honorable Batbile Dlamini, President of the African National Congress Women's League, Honorable Lindiwe Zulu, Chairperson of the African Congress International Relations Subcommittee and Minister of Social Development, Honorable Lindiwe Sisulu, Minister of Human Settlements, water and sanitation. Honorable Nkositani Emmanuel Ntetwa, Minister of Sports, Art and Culture. Honorable Candide Mashengo Dlamini, Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. Ambassadors and High Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. Program Director, allow me to start my remarks by quoting President Xi Jinping on the occasion of the 100th anniversary of the founding Communist Party of China. I quote, "We have realized the centennial goal, namely building a moderately prosperous society in all aspects. This means that we have brought about an historical resolution to the problem of absolute poverty in China. And we are now marching in confidence towards the second centennial goal of building China into a great modern country in all aspects." End of quote. It has taken China a century to lift its people out of poverty to a modern, highly developed, and highly sophisticated nation. And again, according to President Xi Jinping, the Communist Party is now establishing the development goal post for the next century. To achieve its development objectives, the People's Republic of China is a country that has been led by visionary, committed leaders who have been able to mobilize China's both human and natural resources for its development. The warm reception that one receives while visiting the People's Republic of China reflects the friendly culture of the Chinese people. I have visited China in numerous occasions, and I can tell you that I was blown away in 2008, not only by the warm reception according to me and my delegation, but also by the perfect organization of the Summer Olympics Games. And all of it with the sense of discipline of the Chinese people. For instance, there were lanes within major roads leading to Olympic Stadium that were reserved only to vehicles involved in the Summer Olympics. Although there were no police or military to reinforce this requirement, everyone obeyed the rule. And the organization of the games was perfect. In short, that's a modern China for you. There is definitely more to come from this exciting country as it prepares itself to face the challenges of the next century. As Honorable Jesse Duarte said earlier, Africa is a friend of China and vice versa. So as China climbs the mountains to reach a new height in terms of development, please take Africa with you. In closing, I would like to wish the Communist Party of the People's Republic of China a happy 100th anniversary, and thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your kind and warm words. China is the world's largest developing country, and Africa is home to the largest number of developing countries. Only when the voices of the 2.6 billion Chinese and African people are heard and respected will the world enjoy true fairness and justice. Ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, Ambassador Chen Xiaodong would like to take the opportunity to express his sincere gratitude to all the distinguished guests. Ambassador.
All the distinguished guests, I want to thank all of you for taking the time to attend today's reception on celebrating the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Communist Party of China. Enjoy the Chinese people in the grand celebration of the centenary of the CPC. I would like to convey my heartfelt appreciation for your warm congratulations and sincere friendship with the CPC, with the Chinese people. The great importance you attach to China-South Africa relations, China-Africa friendship. With your participation, the reception achieved complete success. We discussed the in-depth General Secretary Xi Jinping's important speech at the ceremony marking the centenary of the Communist Party of China. Review the profound friendship between our two sides and look forward to the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation and the bright future of China-South Africa, China-Africa relations. I wish to continue the good work and personal relationship with all of you. Under your support, we will jointly promote China-South Africa, China-Africa relations to achieve greater development in the new era and bring more benefits to the people of our two sides. Once again, thank you all. I thank all of you for your good participation. Thank you very much.
Comrades, friends, our reception is coming to the end, standing at a new historical starting point with the care and support of leaders of the two sides and the concerted efforts of friendly people from all walks of life. China-Africa and China-South Africa relations will surely brave the wind and waves, forge ahead, and make new achievements on the journey of building a China-Africa community with a shared future. Thank you again for your attendance. Goodbye, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Goodbye.